Just this week, the U.S. House passed a resolution calling for President Donald Trump to step back from military attacks on Iran. Now, the House vote came about 2 weeks after the U.S. Senate voted to advance a resolution of its own. It has similar but not exactly identical terms. In each chamber, 4 Republicans voted with most of the Democrats in favor of what's known as these war powers resolutions. Our partners at PolitiFact have been looking at where it all goes from here when it comes to the legislation. Chief correspondent Luke Jacobson joining us once again. So, Luke, give us a sense of how far along we are in this process right now.
Yeah, so this is certainly progress for the war's critics, but there's still a long way to go before Congress can truly stop the war.
And for the viewers at home, can you kind of explain what is the War Powers Resolution? What does it say and what does it do?
Sure. It says that if there's no formal congressional declaration of war, the president must come to Congress within 48 hours of putting armed forces into a conflict. And by now, he's gone to Congress on that part. He then must terminate the use of forces within 60 days unless Congress says that it's okay to continue. Now, if Congress doesn't say yes, then the president can have an additional 30 days to wind things down. That 60-day deadline, the first one I mentioned, to end fighting if there's no clear congressional support, came and went on May 1st. But Trump argued that the ceasefire that was in place stopped that clock. Critics said that's not really correct because fighting has continued off and on, and a large deployment of U.S. forces are still there, and lots of naval ships are still patrolling the strait.
And so when it comes to Iran, when it comes to other conflicts, kind of bottom line it for us, what would the Congress have to do if it wants to stop the war?
Yeah, so it's a pretty high bar. First, both chambers would have to pass a resolution with the exact same wording, and that's something they haven't managed to do yet. If that were to happen, then basically President Trump would still need to sign it. And because he would likely use his veto power, it would only go into force if 2/3 of both chambers moved to reject the president's veto. And that's a very steep lift in today's polarized state of politics. There would still be the same steep lift if the Senate and the House did it a different way by voting to cut off funds for the war. Trump could veto that too, and it would take the same 2/3 vote in both chambers to turn that into law.
So, Lou, obviously we're seeing the interplay here between the executive and the legislative branches, especially with the veto power. Is it possible the courts get involved in this as well?
It certainly is possible. The courts haven't ruled on the substance of the War Powers Act since it was passed in the 1970s. But if the House and the Senate really were to put a War Powers resolution in place, Trump would probably take it to the courts, including the Supreme Court. Given the challenges in terms of legislation and in terms of the courts, the continuing fight over war powers in Congress is probably most useful for the critics for basically keeping the issue front and center for voters who will be deciding who they'll be voting for during the fall.
Very interesting. Great context today. Lou, thanks for giving us this knowledge. Appreciate it.
Sure thing.